What is going on, everyone? Welcome. It's Eric Skeldon with Kingdom Passive Income. We are super excited for today's guest. We have a pastor who turned into the people's coach, and he's all about the champion mindset and the champion in you. So, as you're coming on, drop some comments on where you're watching from as you're tuning in, and let us know where you're watching from. It's Eric out of Wichita, Kansas, and we have a cold and snowy day here in Wichita, and I'm excited for this broadcast, and I hope it reaches you well. So today's guest is Kyle Sullivan, and we're going to be talking about the kingdom, talking about coaching, talking about mindset, and really purpose. And for believers, I believe it's a time where God is showing us our gifts and talents for a time as this, so we can go and make an impact in the world. And Kyle is a great example of that. And so I'm super excited. Kyle, let me bring him up. What is going on, Kyle? How are you doing today, my friend?
Hey, I am doing well. This is gonna be really exciting. I'm excited to be here.
That is awesome. So, Kyle, for people who don't know who Kyle is, we've been on Clubhouse. We've been, getting some amazing rooms and really just seeing God do some cool stuff in Clubhouse. And I want to get to Clubhouse later and just kind of what you see for it as far as for coaches and being able to really speak on stage to people in an easy way and just palatable way, as well as here, the live streaming is just an amazing way to reach people and just get a message out. What I would love to for people to know, what is your hero's journey? What is your origin story? How did you go from pastoring to coaching and you're with family and being a good husband? And let us know more of your hero's journey because you have such an amazing story.
Yeah, all the things, man. So I would say first off, I was a pastor for 11 years, but even before that, growing up, played sports, love. That's a big piece of where this whole champion, the champion's coach, unleash the champ. I'm a huge sports guy, and so played sports all growing up, and so football, baseball, powerlifting. I was a D1 cheerleader. That's a whole nother story. Went from playing on the field to cheering. It's a whole deal, but it's been super fun. Got wrapped up. Trying to be accepted, trying to be liked, all of these things wrapped up in drugs and alcohol, and was actually dealing drugs for like 2.5 years, and where I found Christ was at rock bottom, like a lot of stories. And it was a time where I just said, what I'm doing is not working. And I'd been in church, middle school, high school. My dad really led our family in that after he accepted Christ. And but what came over for me is I just didn't connect with it. And so when I accepted Christ, started going to church, it led me to get my degree in Christian studies, theology, and then it led me to 11 years of being a pastor and working for some incredible churches, really influential churches in the States, and getting to a place where it just said, hey, October 5th of 2019, my daughter was born, and everything changed. And just how I looked at life and how I looked at legacy and what I wanted to create my life by design and all of those things. And then the pandemic happened. So little girl into the world, pandemic happens. I'm at home like all of us are in the beginning. And, I just kept thinking, man, what can I do? What can I bring to the table to create experiences and allow me to have the most presence possible between what I do for a career and then what I do with my family, and being a husband and being a father. And so started my company, and it's been all of the emotions. It's been the most exciting thing. It's been the most frustrating thing. It's been the most exhilarating thing. It's been the most faith-building thing. It's been the most faith challenging thing, all of it combined. And so that's where I'm at now. And my desire, my belief is that there's a champion inside of everybody. And how I put it to the Bible is that it's that immeasurably more that the Bible promises us. And so being able to help people go from confused to champion to wanting more to living immeasurably more. And it's so exciting to do.
Wow. So Kyle, I knew we had stuff in common. So did you know I cheered one, and I played basketball, and then I went and cheered at Weatherford College. And so I went to like Daytona and like did the whole worlds, and Orlando, competed in Orlando.
Come
so
on,
I was,
yeah.
Sullivan and like holding the girls up.
Come on. That was me too, man.
UCA or what?
UCA.
Yeah, UCA. So yeah, we had UCA, and then the college was NCA. But in high school, we were Texas state champion at Louisville, Texas, and UCA. And so that's crazy. And then in college I started doing the drug dealing thing too, and then and so my story was, went to ended up doing partying and smoking weed and drug dealing weed, and then ended up the first 10,000 I made was in moving weight. And then the first million in invoices I did was in moving freight. So the same gift I used to moving weight, I went into logistics and did freight, and I did millions in invoices. So some of the gifts that we have, you just have to translate it for a legal method, a legal means, but it's the same gift, just selling, moving weight, doing contracts, people, sales, and customer service. And it was the same gift, but I instead of doing for the kingdom of darkness and something that was going to get me locked up, I was getting jacked, I was stressed, I was like, it was a bad environment. I did it in the corporate world, and customers just paying me a lot of money to do this,
Absolutely, man. I have buddies that we joke and say, look, man, our life before Jesus really trained us for entrepreneurship. I mean, we did marketing, we did branding, we did sales. Yeah. It's like it translates. Yeah.
Dude, so I love that. So we have a lot in common, and so that's why I felt really connected to you on Clubhouse, and was just excited to learn more. And when I interview people and want to learn more, I'm like, other people can benefit from the questions I'm going to ask you, and that's what got me into podcasting, because the people I want to interview and learn from and like connect with, when I hear their story, and when I I feel like a lot of people could hear from this, so that I just bring it to my community, I bring it to the people I serve, and then they get benefited from it, because our stories and messages matter. When we have a mess and you turn it into a message, it really can impact so many people. And so tell us more about, as you transition, what did you get around different people? Tell us, what was the biggest difference, that like how you surround yourself by different people, and had a different thought in your head that you can be a coach and a leader, and
Man, yeah. So it really started from me finally acknowledging what people said about me, right? So as I was, I think there's kind of two veins of people who work vocationally at a church. You have the people who are more pastor leader, and you have people that are more leader pastor. And so it just is the focus, like, are you more shepherding, or are you more goals, scale, things like that? So for me, it was very much like, I want to help you grow. I want to get you from point A to point B and all this stuff. And people would say things like, man, you'd help coach me to this thing, or man, you really just helped me get from here to here, or whatever the case may be. And then a big catalyst was, I had a good friend of mine. We got connected, built a relationship, and he was on me like white on rice, man. Was just like, dude, you could be a coach. And he had, at the time, had been running a coaching business for about 6 years. And I was just like, I know, like, I like it. I love hearing what you're doing, but like, I love being a pastor. Like, I really thought, man, I'm just going to retire being a pastor, and it's going to be amazing. It's all this. And it was. And when I left vocational ministry, I loved where I was at. I loved what I got to be a part of. But it was this idea of going, you know what? I think I can go and do this. And if I don't, I'm always going to wonder what if. So I would rather step out on a dream, step out on a vision, go for it, and then go, if it was like, I missed that, and God redirects me back, then always wonder, man, can I do that? Is that possible? And I think that was a big piece of it too. Is it occupied more and more of my headspace and more of my mind of thinking about it. And so, it's like, man, I had this hope that like maybe one day I could do it, and I just had to learn. And I think it's important for all of us is to just put our hope in action. And when we do that, we take risks maybe we wouldn't normally take, and we get to experience things that we wouldn't normally experience. And what I've found is our yes unlocks the belief that somebody else could step into something greater for themselves.
So good. Y'all, if you're watching, help the algorithm, show some love, smash the heart button, and share this broadcast, and let us know where you're tuning in from. It's Eric from Wichita, Kansas. And Kyle, where are you broadcasting from? I
am in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, what's up, Tulsa? Dude, Transformation Nation's out there. Do you ever go visit him?
Michael So I was on staff at Transformation Church until
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah.
That was where you're at?
Yeah, so that was the church I was on staff at before I launched my business. And before that, I was on staff at Life Church for almost 7 years.
Life Church, okay, with Craig Rochelle, right?
Yep.
Wow, Craig Rochelle. So you've been around these big speaker leader type people. So you sat under some anointing to be like, look, I need to go to this space as well. That's awesome. Yeah, I was at Gateway Church in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and he was there the night before, speaking. And then he recorded it over there. But that's really cool. Okay, that makes more sense. Man, Michael Todd, he's as a speaker, he's big time now.
Yeah, man, it's been really cool to see. When I came on staff, we were in the converted grocery store. We hadn't gotten the arena yet. We were in a, basically like a converted, Piggly Wiggly. And just to see the hockey stick growth of what God was doing when the sermon went viral, and just being able to, I was kind of in the middle of the explosion. It had started to grow, started to add more people, and then being able to be on staff for a little over a year and a half, and it was amazing.
Wow, that's amazing. And so tell us, what is some of the biggest struggles for people that are just on staff at a church, or even at a mid-sized church, small church, mega church? What are some of the things what are some of the struggles and the hard things that that happen while you're there?
Oh man, I think anybody in ministry, I think a big struggle is feeling like you can kind of take the mask off, right? Because so many people view you as, a spiritual guidance or spiritual leader, or, they're like, oh, that's my pastor. And so I think sometimes it's incredibly important for people, church leaders, pastors, vocational staff members, to have community of people that they can just be Kyle or Mike, and not Pastor Kyle, Pastor Mike, and so I think that's a big piece of it. Just because I had a mentor one time when I was thinking about getting into ministry. He said, look, man, you need to have people in your life that you talk to, that you're transparent with, that you're vulnerable with. And the litmus test, the gauge, is make sure that they can't fire you, divorce you, or leave your church. And so that's the people. He's like, those people that you can be completely, transparent, raw with. And so I have a group of guys that I talk to often that, when I was in ministry, and even now, that is like, look, they got the keys to every portion of who I am, and they can ask questions. They see, my all of the stuff. They have access to it. And I think that's just so important, because I think sometimes in ministry it can be isolating. And we know that when anybody gets isolated, they're open to attack.
Wow. So because you're in ministry and you have to be perfect, because everyone else is struggling, right? And they're expecting the pastor to give me hope and give me, shepherd me and tell me everything's going to be all right. So
Yeah.
so are you able to even actually be a coach to people who are pastors and who are struggling with that?
Yeah, man, it's exciting to be able to work with, couple pastors, couple churches, and just be able to come because I understand where they're going through, and man, sometimes the most powerful thing that you can ask your pastor is how are they doing,
Wow. Come on. How are you doing? So
and just
simple, right?
like because oftentimes, and it's of no fault of anybody that does this because that's what we're here for as pastors, as church leaders, as
Mhm.
ministry leaders. But oftentimes people are coming to us and saying, I need help with this, I need help with this, I need help with this, I need help with this. Can you help me work through this? I need guidance on this, I need advice on this, and that is literally like what that's for. But sometimes the most powerful question you can ask is, "Hey, Eric, man, how are you doing?
Mhm.
Like, really, how are you doing?" And obviously, you want to make sure that you have that relationship. Like, if you only see him in passing, and you go
Mhm.
like, "Hey, Eric, how you doing?" Like, you're gonna get the, "Oh man, everything's great. It's good," because you don't have that access. But for those people that are church leaders, pastors, ministry leaders that you do have a relationship with, just take a moment and just go like, how are you doing? Because, to think about ministry right now in this
Mhm.
season, in this climate, there's nobody that has the playbook on it. There's nobody that has ever led through church in a pandemic. You got people that, whether you're kind of danged if you do and danged if you don't. If you both been back up,
Yeah.
then you don't
You
care
can
about
criticize.
people,
Yeah.
or if you don't open back up,
You don't
then
have enough faith.
you don't have enough faith, right? And it's like,
Dude, I would not want to be in that position. Honestly.
right,
That's tough. It's tough. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, pastors need prayer. They need like support. How can we hold your arms up? How can we be an Aaron for you?
yep,
Um, and so, tell us about coaching. I just been learning about the coaching space and getting more like certified and like, like figuring out what is coaching. Because for a while, I just saw everyone in the world just said like, I'm a coach, and I'm like, what?
right,
And then they're like, oh, I coach on e-commerce. Oh, I coach on business. Oh, I coach
yep.
on this, and I coach life coaching. And it's like, what is coaching? First, what is coaching?
Yeah, I think coaching is the buzzword mentor used to be, right? So I think as I heard about like people, as I was growing up, it'd be like, oh, I have a mentor that helps me with my marriage. I have a mentor that helps me with whatever. But I think the distinction is a mentor shares more than a coach does. So from my perspective, like I tell people, look, as we work together, I'm going to ask questions to bring out the to go along with what I'm going to ask questions to bring out the champion within you.
Mm-hmm.
Will there be times that I share knowledge? Sure. Will there be times that I offer perspective? Of course. But my job and my calling and my assignment is to ask questions that get you to the place of understanding, oh, that's what I needed.
Yeah.
Because I just believe, because of my core belief is that there's a champion inside of everybody. The beauty of a coach is taking, again, go sports. So you take this player, and your job as a coach in any sport is to develop that player to realize what's inside of them, to refine maybe the rough edges, to refine maybe, hey, try this, try this. Have you thought of this way? And that's what great coaches do, is they develop the talent that is already inside the person.
Wow.
Whereas a mentor is someone that's going to tell you, you need to do this, you must do this, here's a teaching on this. A coach is someone, like, there'll be times where, in a 60-minute session, I maybe talk 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. 80-20 rule, right? You want to be
Yeah.
listening listening 80% of the time and then talking only 20%.
Yep.
And then, like you said, how are you doing? Like, how has that helped you?
Yep.
What, so is that working for you? Tell me more about that.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
And so Kyle, what, as you're, what you said is like you're developing the talent that's already inside of people. So talk about that. Talk about, the gifts and talents that God gives each person, and let's give some hope to the people that are listening. What does God give as far as gifts and talents to each, person on earth?
Yeah, I think that's unique to every person. I think there's obviously similarities, and from a Christian perspective, you can take a spiritual gifts test. You can take, but I just ask people. The first thing is to really two questions at first. What are you good at, and what do you want?
Write those down, everyone. Put them in the comments. What are you good at?
What are you good at, and what do you want? Because like
And write it down.
for my story, people would say, "Man, you coached me to this," or "Hey, man, you really helped me get from like I was stuck and now I'm having some success in this area." And so evaluate too as you're thinking through what are you good at. Also go, what do other people say I'm good at? And then as you have that list down and go, okay, what if this is a big enough problem, a big enough pain point that people would actually invest to solve that problem? And then ask yourself, the second part of that is, what do I want? What I wanted in life was different on October 4th, 2019 than it was October 5th, 2019. So there are going to be moments in your life where you're going to change what you want. You're going to say, "Oh, I want this, I want this, I want this." And then it's like a new season would come, a new level would be met. And then it's like, okay, this is now what I want. And so I think we have one calling and many assignments. And so like, I will say this, my calling has stayed the same through, working in a corporate job to working in ministry to now running a business. My calling's been the same. My assignment is different. My assignment right now is marketplace, business owner, coach, consultant. That's what I'm podcaster. That's what I'm doing now. But my calling's still the same.
Come on. So as you're transitioning, and I want to, can you speak to when I was talking to some people about, I'm going deeper into kingdom entrepreneurship and really just rediscovering the kingdom. And Jesus preached the kingdom a lot. And when you look at Jesus, there was only so like it was like we talk about the 80-20 rule. And you guys, there's a book called the 80-20 rule. That's a good book for people out there are listening. And so, Jesus, the 80% plus of his ministry was in the marketplace. So can you speak on that, on what God's shown you about why most of the miracles and most of his ministry was out there in the marketplace?
Well, I mean, I think it's clear the people that he fought with the most were church people.
So in the synagogue, they were like, "Hey, no."
And so like, he's like, "Man, I could go into the marketplace and not flip tables. I go into the synagogue and the temple and I want to bust heads." And so
in there, huh?
It's like, and so I think, that was probably a big piece of it. Because that was the people that he, and I think too, Jesus was also, and this is a good point. Like Jesus went to the people who wanted to hear him. I think about like, God, he knocks at the door. Like something that Pastor Mike would say a lot is like, Jesus is a gentleman.
Yeah.
He's going to stand at the door and knock. And so I think, again, this is my opinion. I'm not taking Bible out of context. But when I read scripture and he's engaging with the marketplace, he's engaging with people that were willing to hear the message. And he was also sensitive of, hey, time to go. I always found it funny that there'd be times that big old crowd of people and Jesus is like, well, guys, this has been fun. I'm out. And it's like Jesus wasn't afraid to disappoint people.
Yeah.
And
He
so
wasn't trying to make a mega church. So talk about that. Like what, he had the 5,000 there. You would have think he would have collected all their emails. He would have followed up with them, put an email sequence, been like, here's the 5 days to, 5,000. Here's the man of heaven, series. But he didn't do that. So tell us, has God shown you any revelation on that?
Wow, Eric, that's such a great question. I just think he was, I mean, man, he was just very clear on what he was called to do. And I think
he didn't want to stay in one place to preach every Sunday for that, right? Those people.
And, and I think there are people, and I think the principle here is that be confident in what you're called to do.
Because he said, I only do what the Father tells me to do, right?
Right. And so he was like, okay, my job here is done. And I think sometimes when we try to stay too long or we try to make something happen, it's like, you're not graced for that. But also I think there's times where, we are to step into things just as Jesus was. And it all goes back to a security of calling. Do you know what you're called to do? Do you know what you're good at? Do you know what you want? Do you know how that is supposed to play out? And if you know those things, until you feel, hear, or am forced to do something different, that's what you got to do. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with, wanting success. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting financial freedom and financial wealth. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I also don't think there's anything wrong with someone that says, you know what, I just don't need those things.
Mm-hmm. So good. Yeah. Paul says, I was content when I had much and content when I had little, and I was shipwrecked and I was in prison, evangelizing to the prison guards,
Yep.
And so it's like, wherever you're at, you're, like you said, if you're in prison or you're in the palace, your calling doesn't change. We're still supposed to, advance the kingdom, still supposed to keep joy and, bring life to people. And so, Kyle, what was I gonna say? If you were 18, or what advice would you have for someone who's just now getting out of high school during COVID? They're like graduating high school or graduating college. What advice would you have for them right now? They're trying to go in the workforce. They're like, I don't know what I want to do in life. I don't know what my purpose is. What would you say for them?
Try everything.
Right. That's what I say. In your 20s, just try stuff and see.
Like
out in your 20s,
Yeah, I've been able to mentor, some 20-somethings. Which the first time I got to do it, I was like, God, that means I'm like, I've exited that season. Yeah. Like I just turned 34 a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, I don't feel like, but I have to say I'm mid-30s now. Like this is not. it's a whole deal. I thought turning 30 was bad. Now saying like, oh, I'm mid-30s, it's like, oh no. But I really just tell people like, look, I know it's almost like when I was a youth pastor, and I would tell students like, hey, don't stay here, don't stay in your hometown for your friends in high school. And they'd be like, oh, we're going to be friends forever. I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
I talked to one guy from when I graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've both moved off. We've moved, and so our experience is that like we left our hometown. And so that helps, the proximity and all of that. But I would just say, don't be afraid to try. You're not going to be good at first. And this is to everybody, but particularly to people who, I would say like, look, you don't have a spouse. You don't have any kids. Everything you own can fit in your car. Just go for it. Throw a dart at the map, where it lands, go move there.
Yeah.
This is the time to be adventurous. This is the time to like, I'm going to move to a brand new city and I don't know anybody and it's going to be okay. Like, just do those things. Have the gap year, go into college, join the things, do the stuff, like just whatever you feel like you want to do that's not destructive, just try it.
So good. Yeah, whatever's not destructive, give it a shot. Like if you want to go, start a podcast, or you want to, try to become an actor, or make beats, or create video games, or be a coder. Like give it a shot. See if you're good with coding. See if you're good with, public speaking. Try things. A lot of my, I've done like a lot of different things in my 20s, right? And I'm only just about to be 30 in May of this year. So like I got a few months left to be 30, but I've tried so much stuff and I've been successful with a lot of stuff. And then it got to the point where it's like, when you know what you're good at, it's like you can almost touch anything and be good at it if you know what the strengths, and bring people in for the things you're not good at.
Exactly.
Like, because I'm like a visionary, strategic type person. Like I can bring teams, do stuff, but there's certain parts of it that I don't want to do all that stuff. And if I try to do it, I'll end up making, I won't be as effective,
Right. Absolutely. And I think just as you get older, you start to have that awareness because you've tried a bunch of things. There's your multi-passion. Now I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, and whatever, that you go like, God, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But I could do this all day and it not feel like work.
It's so amazing. So y'all, this podcast is sponsored by KingdomDominion.net. It's a faith-based, like Under Armour workout type brand. We're giving out 20% code RAIN 2020. It's the time to roll in rain this year for Kingdom entrepreneurs, and go after your gift and find it and bring it to the world. So Kyle, thank you so much for being on today. This spotlight's on you. Tell us how people can get to know you, how they can support you and follow you. And just want to honor you for being on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Eric. KyleJSullivan.com is my website. You can sign up for, email. I'm not going to spam you, don't worry, but I do send out stuff from time to time, motivational stuff you can apply, value that you can drive right into your life. On Instagram, Kyle J. Sullivan, Facebook, Kyle Sullivan, and be on the lookout for the Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast coming out in about 6 weeks. Super excited for that.
Come on. I'm excited, and hopefully I'll be on there with you, Kyle.
Absolutely, man. We got to run this back.
Yeah, we're going to run it back. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Shalom. Be bold, be a blessing, and be courageous. Shalom.